Welcome to the Arcfluence podcast, where we talk about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm Nick Carrican, your host, and with me today is my business partner and co-host, Paul Fatkins.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Normally we do these in the mornings.
Late mornings. Yeah, this is almost good evening, Paul.
I know. Like, in 5 minutes.
Why am I hungry right now? It's because it's the evening. Today we have an exciting show.
We wanted to get this one in before too much time passed.
Right. So last year we did an episode about our experience going to DC with the AIA conference, the American Institute of Architects National Conference in 2024. We had a great time. We learned a lot. And I honestly think for me, that was the first time I went, not for Paul. But I think this year I was able to come with a better understanding and expectation and game plan to kind of take advantage of all the education and things that are going on. So I had a blast this year. This year we were in Boston, we're just going
to... A little bit further from us in Columbus, so...
We didn't drive this year, we flew.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had a fantastic time. I thought it was a great experience.
Yeah, I think the city was great. The courses and everything was great. Last year was more about health and well-being, I would almost say, to a certain degree.
Yeah, this year was very AI focused, artificial intelligence, not American Institute of Architects, although I love the synergy there.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna talk about how awesome Boston is, and the last time I was there's been a lot of development. It's a beautiful city with a lot going on. We're going to talk about some of the overarching education that we received there, some of the takeaways, some of the tours we went on with some really cool buildings that we experienced, and kind of what that means for not only Boston but architecture in general. And then just kind of recap our personal journey and of our experience of the conference.
Hey, it's Danny with the Arcfluence team. Just a quick break from the conversation. If you're enjoying the podcast, the best way to support us is to leave a review, share it with a friend, post it on social. It helps way more than you think, and it just keeps these conversations going. So thanks for listening, and back to the episode.
Yeah, so we were there for, 4 days in total. The first day we didn't have any keynotes or anything like that. We just started, and I think we started on a tour, didn't we?
We did. We jumped right into a fun tour, the largest residential tower in Boston.
Yeah. I was gonna say, compared to how the evening ended, we'll get into that. Yeah, I had no expectations of it. I booked some of it just kind of based on the description. So it's this one sounds interesting. Let's have at it. I tried to gear it more towards residential, just because we still do quite a bit of residential within our portfolio of work. So I did skew that way. The two tours that we did do, one was for the largest residential tower in Boston, and then the other one was for some adaptive reuse projects. But yeah, the first tour was great. It was definitely a great one to start off with.
Yeah, we took a tour. It was a campus almost. The way obviously the focus was the building itself, but it's on the ground floor. You have the Four Seasons, which is one of the most beautifully designed and thoughtful hotels that you're going to see in the world.
And they're all unique too.
Absolutely.
Everyone is different based on where it is. Almost the roastery with Starbucks. They have one in Chicago, they have one in Singapore.
Yep.
And every location, they have something super custom and special for that location. And
I really felt... I walk into, so there's two separate entrances. There's one for the residents who live in the tower, and then there's an official entry for the hotel itself. And walking into that space, it didn't feel like that large New York City.
Because they based it on Paris.
Yes.
So what did they say? The salons?
Yes.
These small little rooms, and it's a very intimate, and you're going from room to room, really intimate experience. It's not big open, grand kind of lobby and bar and
just a
restaurant.
very European, but high society, quiet, lovely experience with an amazing aroma in the HVAC systems when you walk in. Great service. I was blown away by, some of these light fixtures cost more than my house. Just amazing.
Yeah. The finishes were all top notch, furniture top notch. millions and millions of dollars in interior work. And like, we're talking like not a large amount of, I forget what the floor plate was. I think it was only a couple thousand square feet total, wasn't it?
It's a little bigger than that, but the core obviously ate a lot of that space up, and it was like this. It was almost a triangle shaped building.
Guitar pick. So if anyone knows what a guitar pick looks like,
rounded triangle.
It was exactly like a guitar pick.
But I do appreciate that just some of the details that we saw, like even the door handles when you're walking in was the tower itself, literally carved in steel, and you opened it up.
That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. There was also some shared amenities, which I thought was interesting. So like the gym and the 5-star restaurant that was in the space was shared by not just the Four Seasons, but also the residents. And of course, there's some nuances there that are fun. There was this Japanese company that I can't remember, darn it. They designed the interior of that restaurant, which was just stunning. These warm wood, deep tones, and some glass modern, just extraordinary finishes that blew me away. And I love the fact that there was a secret entry from the kitchen of the restaurant that celebrities can come down from the hotel and come in the back entrance to avoid exposure going into the main entry.
Well, yeah, just in general, they were very protective of the residents, like not only in the hotel, but also like even in the apartments up above.
Yep.
So yeah, the tower basically had the hotel down on the lower portion, and then all the residential units were basically up on the top floors. And that's all that was in the tower. So
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but 61 stories is where we landed for the largest residential tower in Boston.
61, yep, 215 room hotel. That's on the lower 20 floors, and then there was like 180 some on the upper 40 floors. Wow.
Now we got to tour a penthouse, and actually this was an unfinished space, so we didn't get to see the level of finishes there. And then actually, what I found out, it's very common for those spaces not to be finished, because a lot of and if you're an investor and you're investing into a luxury condo, I guess we're going to call it just a home, or a penthouse suite on one of these types of buildings. If it's finished, you're going to get your certificate of occupancy, meaning your taxes are going to go way up. If it's not developed and you're basically holding it as a place to park your money, taxes are going to be a lot lower until you get that certificate of occupancy. So I thought that was fun. Obviously your HOA costs are going to be less as well because it's not occupied. But I got to tell you, the views from the top floor.
Oh, incredible views. You get like your little private balcony out there with a fire pit, or not a fire pit, but like a gas in wall fireplace.
Yeah. And a huge dining area. I mean, we're talking, I don't have the floor plan in front of me here, but I think it was like over 1,000 square foot of just that exterior /
I think it was a little smaller than that. It wasn't quite that big, but I mean, you could have 10 people out there comfortably.
Oh yeah. You could have 10 people at the table, and then there's still a whole nother sitting area.
Yeah. I know the HOA fees for the penthouse was $30,000, I believe, and it's $2 a square foot. So that means in total was $15,000 for the square footage of the penthouse, and it was a price tag of $35 million.
Yeah, $35 million
for an unfinished concrete, bare, pipe exposed, like nothing done.
Yeah,
the glass was there to like keep the weather out. That's it.
I was kind of impressed. With, because Boston's a windy city, right? It's fairly windy, especially when you're up that high. Yeah, I mean, you had incredible views of every direction in Boston and the airport and the coastline. I was shocked how when you were out on that balcony space, it was kind of sheltered. I wouldn't call it a lanai, but it had 3 walls that essentially were, and even like that, a partial 4th wall that was kind of giving you shelter. And then you had that exposure out to the world. But then also on the side of the building, there's like these striations or these extensions of the building that block that wind flow.
Yeah, it's like a little, I don't know, like a
fin?
Little, sure, or fin, or just a little extension of the floor plate, but then it's like inset, so that when you look at it on the outside skin, it is like this striation or this like cut back, and then the glass kind of extends past, and then in that little pocket they basically create an opportunity for an operable window to have like a sheltered place there.
Yeah, and I like obviously if you see these old skyscrapers, you don't necessarily see operable windows. Obviously that's a requirement now in a lot of residential use, and something that's desirable, I think, too. So I thought it was just a really cool experience. I mean, you're paying for it, but at the same time, that's luxury living in its finest. If you like that downtown feel, and it's really quiet. You just hear the hum of that high up. You just hear the hum of the building. There's no sirens. there's no garbage trucks. You almost feel like you're floating in the clouds.
Yeah, I mean, like, just a great project in terms of its execution, the footprint that they were dealing with. And they were talking about how they stole some of the FAR rights and the other things from the surrounding properties, because it was a master plan. And this was like the last piece in the master plan that was going into development. And some of the other things like the orchestra school and the church and the other things that were like on this site, they were never going to demolish that and build, a tall building there. So basically they took all that stuff. And it was funny. They told the story that, like this never happens with architects and architecture and design. Like the mayor of the city is like, great, make it taller.
Yeah. Can you make this taller, please?
Yeah. Like, we love your design. We love everything about this building. It needs to be taller. Right. And then like later he came back so they did, but then later he came back even when they were like in construction. So and the foundations were done.
Can we make it taller?
Yeah. And they're like, it needs to be even taller.
Sorry, we can't rework the foundation. That's going to be a rework.
Yeah. So, I mean, just in general, a very unique project, and definitely stood out on the skyline. And it's in a very unique area where you have like beautiful views all around you. So yeah, it was a really cool project.
It took me back when I was working on luxury homes in New York City. One of the things I really thought was cool, and that I'm going to take with when we do other custom homes here in Columbus, is the toilet room in the primary suite. It actually, instead of being a separate room, it was a separate room, but it was a partition of privacy glass. So it merged with the wet room, and the wet room had its own separate door where you had the shower and the tub. And then you had just the extension of this glass privacy wall. And that was where your $8,000 Toto smart toilet lived, which I thought was the design was just so beautiful. I thought they did such a lovely job.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to look at the number for the actual floor plate. I think it is close to like 15,000 square feet, like per floor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, it's funny, like we were trying to talk about these little like pockets for the windows. I wish I could share the image. Like they shared some slides with us, some imagery with us, but obviously like at the very beginning, they're like, all this is copyrighted. You can't use any of it, unless you like ask us for permission. But looking at the floor plate, like this almost looks like a freaking like saw blade.
Yeah.
With like these little like pockets cut out for the windows. Sure. But yeah, like guitar pick, saw blade, I guess rounded triangle.
Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was tour 1. We had 4 more days, Paul. So let's get moving.
Well, it was a great tour. So sorry to belabor it. But
are we going to talk about that evening?
We can talk about the disaster.
And listen, we're being dramatic.
Which wasn't led to better things, though.
Yeah, we got on a bus. We went on a beautiful coach ride to the residential tower, and then we got on a school bus to go to this brewery tour.
Yeah, which was like literally school bus from the 1980s.
And after about an hour or so of driving in traffic, in Boston traffic, which by the way, gorgeous city, kind of even like a medieval feel. So it's not gridded like New York. I just love the fact that it's not very efficient, but it has that interest and that curiosity and like what's around the next corner and, type of feel, which I think gives opportunity for more interesting architecture, but at the same time, again, not necessarily efficient traffic. We're driving through town. We're going to the other side of downtown. And I'm like, hey, Paul, we got this other thing to go to. We are going to miss this. We can't just like...
Yeah, that was the Kent State reception. And it's like we're pulling up to a bridge. Everyone's trying to get across this bridge. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're going to the other side. I'm like across the harbor. We're turning off of like our little downtown area here.
And we weren't about to miss the Kent State reception.
And Nick's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." So he's like, "Oh, all right." He's like, "All right, I've had it. Let me go ask the guy." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, I think we're going somewhere else."
They changed their plans, so now we were way further out. We were never going to make it back. So I'm like, let's abort, Paul.
Yeah.
So we jump out of this bus in
the middle of a bridge.
Yeah.
Hop over the railing.
It's great. It's fine. It's fine.
But it worked out. Nobody got hit by a car.
We took a lift back and made it to our second appointment where we got to meet up with some alums and Mark Mister, the dean of the College of Architecture at Kent State.
Hopefully we'll have him on the podcast as a guest.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. He's doing such good work. I really admire what he's doing, and especially during a tough time for funding with universities and stuff. Yep. He's been there, how long? 9 years now at Kent State?
No, I think a little less than that.
Okay.
Did he come in when they had the new building online?
I feel like it was just before that.
Right before it?
I think so.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think it's been too terribly long.
But now they have new. He has been moving and grooving. They got new spaces. The curriculum's amazing. They're bringing in some really amazing professors.
And like you said, especially now with the challenges that universities just in general face. I mean they've done some great work for sure.
I'm really impressed with their program. I mean, I suppose I'm partial getting my degree there, but I just think that the quality of students that are coming out of there right now are killer. Which is why you're right. We do need to have him on this podcast. So let's just speak that into existence, and hopefully that'll happen in the next few months here.
Yeah. So yeah, we won't go into too much detail on the Kent program, hopefully saving it for that podcast. But it's good just to connect to people, and like you said, it was all alum that were there. And, we talked with the dean, and I don't think we saw Professor Hughes, though, at the reception.
We saw him at the grand ball or whatever.
The next day.
Yeah.
So.
He's a character.
Yeah. But it was nice. It was just nice to connect with fellow Kent State, alums. So
absolutely. Next day, our first keynote speaker.
Our first full official day. Yeah, the first keynote speaker. That was Allie K. Miller, talk on AI.
Can I just say, she has been studying this topic and industry for 20 years. Now, I just got ChatGPT last year, and I thought I was an early adopter. Completely wrong. She had a lot to say about things I had no idea. And just a high level view of where everything is going and how this universe shouldn't be just dialed into one or two of these AI apps that we're using.
Yeah. I mean, she ran through an example, and she basically gave like something for us to really like chew on and think about. And like you said, it wasn't just one tool where she's like, okay, you just use this and everything's hunky-dory. It almost kind of beckons back to even like how we do things in architecture and design here. We don't put all of our eggs in one basket because we can't. Revit doesn't do everything that we need it to do. There's other tools that we have to utilize. And so there's still a handful of tools that we're using in our day-to-day workflow with the design stuff that we have to deal with.
Sure.
Or with the code stuff that we have to deal with, or technical compliance, or whatever. Like there's several things that we have to use. So she was kind of harking on that same line where she's like, all right, you're going to use this for this and that for that and this for this.
She did go through several tools that we made. That
some of them I hadn't even heard of.
Some of them I haven't either. I heard of Claude, the AI assistant. U.com, which is, doesn't that help you build apps? Or
that's the Lovable.
That's Lovable.
Yeah.
U.com. Oh, I think that was the research assistant where does a deep dive into.
No, that was the Manus.
Manus AI?
Manus, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what U.com
0
was.
for 2 for me.
Maybe U.com was more of the personal. No, the Claude is the personal assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Fin?
No,
AI?
no.
We need to look that up.
Yeah.
We should put these links in so this is a note for Danny. We're going to put these links, these 6, AI software tools in the show notes, and a link to their actual site so you can understand what you can utilize them for.
These are all tools that she was recommending, right? That people should be out there and using and experimenting with and playing and trying to use on a day-to-day basis.
One thing I thought was interesting too is like she's like, guys, this is actually Act 2 of AI. We're not in Act 1 anymore, and I still meet people who do nothing with it. So like we're already in phase 2 of this, and I just think that it's going to come fast. Phase 3 is going to come fast. We're going to see more and more things being quantified in terms of business related tools that we're going to be paying for. We're also going to see a lot more free versions. I think that this is an exciting field and super productive for people. Like you really can multiply your day here. I guess just the question is, how much personal information are we giving away at that expense? Because I can tell you right now, Gemini and ChatGPT knows a lot about me.
Yeah, I think you have to. Obviously you have to be careful, but it's like if it's within so like for example, one of the examples she gave, like let's go back to what she talked about. She was doing research for mass timber buildings completed within the last decade. She asked it to be like as thorough as possible, to provide like all references and imagery, and she requested it for a specific area, like within like the Midwest or something like that of the United States. And then it came, basically the result was like this 60-page research paper that had all these links to everything that it referenced, images, descriptions, summaries. I mean, like super powerful, but that's all in the public space. And so like, okay, using it for something like that, sure. Now, depending on if you have something proprietary and you're going to like, she's like, there's other things where you could like feed it information. So then it's like, what are you feeding it? Because as soon as you click upload and send it off to them, it's theirs to do whatever with. So I think that's where we have to be careful. If you're using it to kind of pull things together or automate things or do certain things, I think these tools are phenomenal. I do worry about what you're giving it and how they're going to use it.
I mean, if you go on social media, an AI can really find out pretty much everything about me anyways at this point, right? So
but I could care less if it knows my freaking schedule and routine, right? I don't care if it knows my kid has a soccer practice to go to or something like that, like whatever, whoop-de-doo. But I mean, if you and I have something that we've worked to develop,
a top secret, valuable, proprietary situation.
I mean, maybe there's something that we use that's related to process and workflow that sets us apart from other architecture firms. I would not want to take that and upload it and say, hey, can you give me some pointers on whatever? No, because as soon as I hit upload, that's it. They have that.
Yeah, I would. Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation because I would be like, how can we make this better? Here it is. And then I'd probably get on a podcast and go through it line by line and be like, this is why we're different.
I think we have those conversations with the client, but we don't necessarily broadcast to everybody, how to be different.
Yeah. So. No, I thought it was really informative. I think we need to talk about this more. And again, playing and experimenting with these additional tools that honestly don't, if they are not free, do not cost a lot from a monthly standpoint, especially if it's business related. I mean, you're talking $20 to $60 to try these things out to see if they're going to benefit your life and your business.
Yeah. The research example was incredibly powerful. So
one thing though that she did say is like video is still catching up. So for example, we can write a book or an email or a report that is going to be indistinguishable from a human, right? It's going to be top notch and done very well. Now you can ask AI to do videos, and we're seeing a lot of that on social right now. Is that real? Look at this like wormhole in the middle of the ocean and everything's getting sucked in. It looks very, very real, but there are some nuances and there are some things that it just doesn't quite capture yet that will get better with time. And she's saying like in a year or so, we're not going to be able to tell.
They already have, like, even look at the tools that like Gemini So we have access to Gemini, and it's like the tools that they've rolled out recently. Every day I see new pop-ups with things. Like, hey, have you tried this feature yet? Have you tried that feature yet? I think now Gemini can do video clips, short video clips.
So what you're telling me, Paul, is trust nothing.
Trust, but like with certain skepticism. Yeah, I don't know. Don't blindly trust. How's that?
I think that humans are going to find themselves, figuring this out, and we're going to be like,
sure. I'm not on the camp that it's like a terrible thing and nobody should use it, but I definitely use with caution sort of thought.
I don't have a positive or negative bias towards it. I'm just under the camp that like this is happening, and whether we want it to happen or not, it's happening. Like the powers that be are letting all this happen. So I want to be informed about it. I want to be able to utilize it to my advantage if I can, because I think it's going to be a common thing in the workplace everywhere.
Yeah. Again, like if you're not using it, then you're going to be left behind.
Right. I agree.
So, but with caution. Yeah, it was a great talk. If you have not looked up Allie K. Miller, I would definitely look her up. I think her firm does consulting and other stuff. Obviously, we'll post the tools that she recommended, but she was phenomenal.
Yeah, they do transitions, from what I understand, like even thinking about AI when you're developing your business.
Yeah, helping to consult with process workflow and how AI can help in your business.
Yeah.
So, she's phenomenal. And then I think the rest of the day was just like seminars and stuff. I don't think we did any other tours or anything like that. We just went to like residential talks or business strategy talks. We did like small firm meetups.
Yep. I think we had our business council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like happy hour, like with like a, small firm meetup, stuff like that.
It was great.
So, and yeah, I'm glad we had our business cards. Thank you, Danny. But it was,
it was we mailed
process.
We finally finished our new business cards, and they were printed the day we left. We did not get them into our suitcases, so we had to priority mail those to Boston, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, next time we got to get stuff ahead of time.
Well,
we're never mailing anything.
We were working on it for quite a while.
I know.
The timing was poor.
Yeah, you lost your license or whatever. That whole debacle with Italy.
We don't need to talk about that anymore, Paul.
But like the same thing here. Shipping stuff like almost did not work out. We got lucky that it kind of did. So anyway, enough said on that.
Yep.
But then the next day, I think we get into Mayor Pete, I believe.
Mayor Pete.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg.
I was blown away. I got to be honest. I thought he was a phenomenal speaker, and I didn't realize he was so young. And I think, and we should probably fact check this, but I think he was one of the youngest Secretary of Transportation.
Yeah, he was in his 30s, late 30s. I don't know if he was the youngest, but I'm pretty sure he's close to it, if not the youngest.
What an inspiring and positive, focused. It was more of a Q&A, and he was interviewed. I had so much fun listening to what he had to say about transportation and infrastructure and the future and our current circumstances and everything else. He just had a very refreshing and positive and hopeful message on all these things, and like let's participate, like come with me, let's do this together. Very impressed with his demeanor.
Yeah, he gave his background on, talking about the local level and how local government needs to be involved to a certain extent. And then his perspective from once he got into the federal government. I mean, honestly, he was saying the local government is really where things get done. The federal government, to a certain extent, sure. But I mean, like, it's so large and unwieldy. It's like they kind of give the green light to the local people, and then the local people is where it actually gets done.
Sure, it's certainly a partnership, but like all these federal funds that are being distributed are going to go to the municipalities who
they decide what to do with it,
and who are participating.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, step one is definitely local, always.
Yeah. He also touched on AI and how AI is impacting things to a certain extent, and shifting things within our industry. But, that wasn't his focus. Obviously, he stuck mostly to the infrastructure projects, and he was talking about how it can be a powerful tool for even like reconnecting communities. And he was talking about projects that happened in the 90s in Philadelphia.
Yep.
That even during that time where it's like you would think that we would have learned at that point in the 50s or 60s, like, okay, yeah, we did whatever and we just built the things and we didn't give a real thought to the impact on society or community or city. It's just like build the infrastructure, done.
The urban design and landscape, yeah.
So then he talked about a project in the 90s and how they had to go through this process of basically taking down what was built then instead of like refurbishing it to basically create this reconnection within the community. And then, a lot of talk about sustainability, the future, and an optimistic viewpoint, just with these infrastructure projects, and how we kind of have to be that way, especially in this time of chaos and turmoil, because he was really emphasizing that now is like, historically, it's a significant time in terms of like change.
There is a lot of change that's happening in our government. And he was essentially had a great message of participating and taking this opportunity to be heard.
Well, that and like for future generations, that we're kind of on this tipping point one way or another where we need to really think about 30, 40 years down the road now. And if we're not thinking about it now and we drop the ball now, that it's they're going to look back on this time and be like, what were you guys doing? So
hopefully they'll have romantic thoughts of us making the right decisions, doing the right thing, and creating a brighter future for everyone.
Yeah. The only other thing I would say to his talk too, which I really connected with on some level, he was talking about how from a sustainability standpoint, people are always talking about how we have to save the planet, or it's like a planet-wide epidemic, this carbon footprint.
The planet is going to go on no matter what. The question is, are we going to be a part of that equation?
Yeah. So it comes down more to, again, like not the big picture, but more down to the local community level, where it's our choices as humans, and our management of resources are kind of critical, and it's on the small scale. It's not a planet-wide thing. Yeah, you're right. The planet will be here. It's whether or not, our future generations are going to be here to...
Are we going to be around? B, what does that actually look like? Is life going to be harder? Is it going to be better?
And the choices we make now are going to impact everybody down the line.
Sure.
So, yeah. I mean, like, it's just hard to lose sight of. And when people paint it in this box of, oh, it's about the planet, right? It's hard to wrap your head around. If it's about your local community and the impact in your local community, it's a lot easier for people to then take actions.
Yeah, and I know you kind of already talked about this, but just the impact of architecture and how important it is in terms of how it shapes culture, how it helps with our communication, with everything that kind of goes into where we are headed as humans. Like all these things are interconnected, and I think it's super important to keep to keep that in mind, and then that we need to focus on building smart, capable cities that are going to be beautiful and functional.
Yeah. I mean, the number one thing as an architect, like, you're thinking about space and design and how a building functions. But honestly, the number one thing always comes down to the person and the public. And it's all about health, safety, welfare. So if you don't have something in place to protect your community and the people in your community that are interacting with your building, interacting with your space, you can have a wonderful design, but if it's not safe to occupy, it's not safe to occupy. So that's always the number one thing. And that even goes above design. You can have something be beautiful, but have it be a death trap, And so like, again, like just community focused and all about people's well-being and again, down to the local level. It's not like these global things that we're looking at. So,
and he may not have touched on this point, but it also just being in Boston and seeing like the uniqueness of Boston compared to some other places. Like every major city does have its kind of its fingerprint, right? Its ideology, its own identity. And I think that is also super important. I also just think that why he didn't speak specifically to this is that Boston has its own unique fingerprint, ideology, identity, right? And I think that's important to maintain, where these larger cities have their own kind of essence, right? That make them important, but also have the same function and success of supporting us humans in those spaces. So I really had a great experience. I thought it was a great a great city to visit as well.
Yeah, he made me feel very optimistic for the future, for sure. And he's absolutely like spot on. We need to be thinking 30 years down the road, and we need to be thinking 30 years down the road now, and make those choices and actions now to set up things for the future.
And guess what? It's
easy to forget.
It's easy to forget, and it's also easier to do this together, right?
Yeah.
So like if we can come to a consensus and have a conversation about this and then work towards this goal as a group, we're gonna have a much higher likely higher of success rate by working together and doing this.
Yeah. And then the rest of the day, so that was Mayor Pete in the morning. So all our keynotes are in the morning. And then I think we did another tour later that day.
We do some more classes as well.
I think there's a few seminars mixed in. Again,
we also hit the floor, the floor for the first day. What are we calling that?
The expo.
The expo.
Yeah.
A massive space of vendors, manufacturers.
Yeah, I think every day we walked like 10 miles. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you decided to go on some runs. I went with you the second time. We ran 6 miles.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you doing? Why are you running 6 miles? I thought we were going to go on a little jog, and we're going all around the city.
Hey, when we're eating out Boston pizza and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, the food.
It's really good.
So we had the best clam chowder that I've ever had in my life.
But that's why we got to do some exercise to compensate,
Yep. And who would have thought Boston had its own style of pizza?
Yeah. Very similar to New York. Yeah, but it's a little bit different. I don't know. Pizza's pizza.
Well, don't say that if you're from Chicago or New York.
I know. Okay. Those are definitely different. So, but yeah, the tour we did later that day was, again, a residential project. It was actually a medical office, right? From like...
Wasn't it a government building, like, or some type of...
I thought it was some kind of office, some kind of medical campus.
Maybe you're right. The look of it, though, is... It feels estatey, like...
Yeah, I mean, it had like Greek, Ionic columns, and it was like a brick, like an old brick with like a gold like cupola on top.
Pediments and all the traditional...
But I mean, like that was like they turned all that into their amenity spaces. So they had like shared working space, like a kitchen area, like some conference rooms, a gym, a pool. So they had all their amenities within that like main building that they reused.
And they actually took out a lot of the floor plate to create some unique double high spaces, which was really interesting to me. And made it really fun and interesting.
Yeah. And then surrounding it, they built all residential units.
Yeah,
I think 5 or 6 floors.
It was a campus of multiple buildings.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many apartments they had?
I think it was around like 400 or 500.
I think it was like the high 3s, if I remember, or maybe they were planning for 4 something, and then after everything was said and done,
that's right. I think because the city is like, well, no, I think they wanted like 600 something, and the city's like, well, that's too much.
That's right.
Because I mean, like they had the parking buried under the ground,
right?
And then they had like a park on top. So I mean, like. Beautiful space. Yeah, it felt like a little micro school campus, basically.
Well, you're also putting this is all happening in the middle of a very residential, predominantly single-family neighborhood. Yeah. So now we're having all these apartments. So it's a different type of living, a potentially different type of tenant, who's living in this space. So sometimes there's compromises when you're doing a development of this scale.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I thought it turned out great. So that was the first one that we went to. I mean, we didn't tour like any apartments or anything like that. It was it wasn't like super high end luxury, like with the One Dalton Tower. But it was just like average run of the mill stuff. I think what made it unique was the fact that they reused this old building, repurposed it for their amenities. And then they kind of basically they built the buildings out and around and had like an open courtyard landscape, beautiful landscaping. Yep. Spaces were activated like with dog parks and benches and trees. And
from the main road, you got like when you look down these corridors, it looked like this cute little inner city streetscape. Yeah. But then, you get this surprise as you go into I'm going to call it campus, even though it's probably not the right choice of words. As you go into the collection of buildings here, now you see all these surprises with this courtyard, dog parks, the pool, everything.
Yeah, it was a nice nicely laid out, well thought through, overall organization for sure.
And I think one of the main, I know this took longer than they expected. I think they were planning this for well over a year, actually, before they got any approvals. But I think it goes
even then, I think they did it in phases, and overall it was like a 3 or 4 year process.
Yeah. But I guess that goes to show you, like, if you do take the time to plan something out properly, like, your chances of success are a lot higher. Like, I think it turned out great. It was a great ad, especially in a place where housing is a shortage and you're adjacent to downtown Boston, and rents there were obviously probably at a 30%, I think what they said.
Yeah, because you're
30% discount.
You're 30, 40 minutes away from downtown, basically.
Yeah, you have views of it.
Yeah,
but you have that suburban lifestyle, that you kind of get to experience that's removed from the inner city.
Yeah, it was a decent project. Then it was in Quincy. So then we went to the downtown Quincy area, which then the second project that we toured, again, it was residential conversion, adaptive reuse, but it was actually an old Masonic temple that had burned down partially. And then they were able to basically gut it, keep the front and repurpose it as a restaurant. And then the backside, like, attached to a new building that they built. So it was like, it's kind of like weird because you had like this old remnant of the temple that was like in the front of basically three sides of it. And then the backside was completely rebuilt and restructured as apartments.
And they saved a lot of that. Some of these pieces of the superstructure, they saved it and used it as like a threshold into the court, like the entry area where we had the secret garden.
They like carved it out and put a beam in so that you like walk through the wall.
Yeah.
And that was like, and then right behind the wall was this garden.
So it didn't feel, it was very kind of inner city modern, but also like there's this old world feel to it as well. I thought it was layered in a very methodical and interesting way.
Yeah. The one thing I took away was they could have used a laser scanner though for the windows.
Yes. the trapezoid window.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, who would have known? We went to go do the windows, and the GC comes back with like a $30,000 change order or $20,000, whatever it was, because the windows are not square and they're slightly askew and they're actually a trapezoid. And it's like, oh, who would have known? And I'm just thinking to myself, like,
we would have known. We would have scanned it. So who are you hiring? No.
Yeah. But I mean, like, again, like just hearing stories like that, it made me think about our process and how it's like, yeah, even though sometimes it's a pain to scan absolutely every single project, there's a reason why. But like it also, like, for them, it gave them like a unique thing to talk about, right? So it's like gave them something where it's like, oh, the contractor had a $30,000 for two windows.
And it's not just the change order and the price tag; it's the time. Yeah. Like they had to custom make these windows, and it cost them a couple months.
Yeah. So, obviously there's a cost associated with that too, which they didn't really talk to. They just talked about the change order cost.
Yeah, the cost of the window is not quantified in the time that it takes to get it and open the building.
Yeah. So, I mean, all around, again, like nothing super high end with those residential units, but just a very unique project in how they reused the temple. And the restaurant inside was beautiful. And obviously they had to make it like ADA accessible and deal with all that sort of thing. So.
Reminds me of that bar we went to in DC the year before with the like dark and moody and like, that was fun. We had too many Manhattans or old fashions. I can't remember.
Something.
All right. What's next, Paul?
We're almost done. So last day, we're on the last day now, and but the conference is basically concluded. So we had one more keynote, and I don't think we did any seminars that day. I think we did the keynote, the tour, and that's it. And then we headed back.
I got to tell you, I love the keynote. The keynotes were great this year, all of them.
And next year is going to be San Diego.
We're not going to finish that. San Diego, what a beautiful city. I'm really excited for that.
So that'll be great. But at the end of the conference this year, it's just kind of like a little bit exhausted. We did a lot. But we still had, the last day, we still had some great talks. We had Dami Lee, who focused on storytelling within architecture.
So never heard of her. New player.
I actually watched some of her stuff.
So good, right? Yeah. She is incredible. I mean, I was laughing.
She's not like Mr. Beast or anything, but
no. Okay, so
she's good. She's good.
So she picks interesting. She started out during COVID, and she's a YouTuber, and she's amongst other things at this point, and she's picking interesting topics. Obviously, architecture is the center of it, and instead of speaking to other architects, she's speaking to the general public, everybody.
Yeah, she's making YouTube videos for mass consumption,
and she is putting on like the contractor's helmet, or where are my words, Paul? Hat, and she is dressing up in all these characters. So 1 minute she's the client, 1 minute she's the architect, 1 minute she's an engineer, the contractor, and she's playing all these different roles to describe the perspectives of the project, the challenges, and just adding a lot of humor to what would be a stressful situation because of delays or change orders or whatnot. And it was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I mean, she and some of her stories obviously are like focused on certain topics. Like she talked about some city somewhere in China, I believe, where it's like they had 0 rules, 0 regulations,
and it became one solid building.
And it was like, yeah, just people built buildings on top of buildings, and any like void space was filled in, so it was no longer void; it became occupied, and it's like everything was connected.
I think,
and it was just literally the densest place on earth,
with the
that
exception
humans inhabited,
of the temple, I believe that was at the center of the city. And
yeah, that was untouchable, but everything else was a free for all.
So there's these bridges, and first it started out at just connecting random buildings to expand different places, and she talked about how like there was a casino, and then there's also the brothel, and they get you in to the casino and they end up in the brothel, like, but you never go. It was just the thought and the psychology behind all this was crazy. It was truly organic, and very messy, not to code, but very interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, like, her whole deal is basically just storytelling, like architecture and storytelling, and it's for mass consumption. So I mean, like, very relatable stuff. Her videos very interesting, and then she also gave examples. Aside from some videos like that, she was talking about
cyberpunk and
like
solar,
different genres, and she's like consulting on video games, and like built environments within video games.
And she's doing, so this isn't just someone like we get on and we just talk. She's doing lots of in-depth research on these subjects.
She also had some projects from clients where she would make videos based on her projects. And so she would walk people through what a typical process is like from start to finish with whatever project she was working on. So I mean, definitely her videos are worth taking a look at.
And she is practicing architecture. I just don't think that is the meat and potatoes of her creation.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the YouTube thing has exploded.
Oh, yeah. And she has a huge staff and everything. Yeah.
Fun.
It was just a lot of fun. It was very refreshing. She has chased her dream and her interests, and it has paid off. I was very impressed by her.
Yeah. So all around, great conference, great keynotes. And then the last thing we did to wrap everything up was another tour. And we actually went to the Prudential Tower.
Yes.
Where they reimagined the upper 2 or 3 floors as like a new observation deck. And it's like the only outdoor observation deck, right?
Yeah, they have.
Like it's not like there's a glass wall that protects you on the side, but then like it's open to above essentially. And there is some canopy that kind of comes out a little bit. But basically, yeah, you're like open and exposed.
And it's slightly taller than... it's one of the taller buildings I think it's one of the tallest buildings in Boston.
Yeah, it's fairly tall. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's not like your Hancock Tower or like World Trade Center or something like that. Like,
no, but there is a restaurant bar up there. Yeah, it has some really interesting features. With
you could hear the city from up there. Like you heard noises from the city.
Well, it's because it's totally exposed.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you weren't so far removed from it. You know.
I would say in New York City, when you're 100 stories up, or 80, 90 stories up, you still get, if you're outside on an observation deck, you're still getting that echoing between the buildings. But that silence comes when you're inside, a space that doesn't have that exposure. But I thought like there were some really cool aspects of that building, like how they clean their windows. They have this huge truck looking thing on railroad tracks that parks into a garage.
Because before, so they reimagined it. Before, it was all just utility space. That was there and exposed to the weather and everything. It just sat there. And they would use it when they needed to every quarter to clean the windows. And it would crane the people up and down the side of the building.
It was almost unsightly. It was unsightly. They left it out.
Well,
right?
Nobody was there. The only people that ever went there was the maintenance people.
But I mean, you can see it from other buildings, especially now that
from other buildings, maybe, sure.
And you get a little. You can make it. I don't know if you're on the ground. I didn't bother looking up. I just see this beautiful glass box at the top of the building.
Yeah,
with Prudential.
But yeah, so their solution was to make a garage for it. So they actually like redesigned the whole, like even how the whole thing worked. So they kept the rails, but then they covered the rails with like this really light wood
decking.
And then it's removable. So all of it's removable. So when they do have to do it every quarter, they'll shut down the observation deck for the couple of days that they need. They pull up all these floor panels, and then this garage door opens up where they pull out the apparatus that then goes around and cleans everything. So
these are the geeky details of buildings that we get excited about as designers.
Well, yeah, again, and they repurposed all the mechanical space too. So again, the building was designed 40, 50 years ago, right? Massive units that now they were able to basically have a much smaller footprint and height, to where all of a sudden you have a lot of extra space, where it's like, well, before there was mechanical equipment there. Now we have all this extra space, so what do we do with it? So the whole project was basically repurposing all these spaces that they wouldn't typically have had, to basically turn it into like an observation experience for Boston. So yeah, it was very unique because before it was like some maintenance people were there working on the mechanical unit or washing the windows, and those are the people that experience that viewpoint, and that's it. Now it's open to the public where anybody can buy a ticket and go experience it.
Yeah, and it's not just an experience; it's an education tool as well as a restaurant and bar and
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
It's cool. Like you could even scan your ticket and it would give you an itinerary. So like you'd see like Fenway Park from the tower. And then if you're like, oh, that seems cool, I want to go check out whatever's over in that area of the city, you could scan your ticket at a certain point, and then it like generated some itinerary.
Interesting. AI is designing an itinerary for you to go experience the city based on this one attraction?
I don't think it was AI, but whatever, there's some software they were using. So, yeah. I mean, all around it was a pretty good use of space, or reimagining of space.
I agree.
So
I'm going to shift gears here. Do you remember those things that are lined up and down the street? I believe they're called ducks. I'm like, excuse me, what is that?
It's a boat and a car bus thing. It looks like a boat kind of on wheels.
Why doesn't it? First of all, why don't I have one?
Yeah.
Why don't I live in, like, isn't that like the ultimate RV experience? Like, I want to have like a 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen on wheels that can also go into a lake, and I can go fishing.
You'll have to look up what they look like and have Danny like post an image or something.
All right, Danny, we need to get that up, and we also need to look into like.
It's unique, but it's nothing crazy. I've seen stuff like that before.
I want to buy one, and I want to remodel it and make it like a crazy Airbnb experience. I think that, and we'll like, hey, you want to go on the lake? Boom. It's like a boathouse that you can drive around. I mean, it's incredible. Like,
yeah, I can't imagine the insurance on that though. You're insuring a property, a car, a boat, all in one, all of the above.
So you get discount on the full package deal.
Yeah, instead of buying one of or renting one of each, you rent just all together. You just rent it.
There you go. Just need to throw some wings on there with some rocket boosters.
Yeah. We saw those things like 5 times too.
They were everywhere.
Well, they were in the. I think the time we went to Dalton Tower and Prudential Tower, there were sites that were close to each other. So I think both times we passed the same area where they launch from, because they launch from there and drive around the city and then go out into the harbor.
I've been
but then we saw it 2 or 3 other times.
I'm telling you, I've been a lot of places around the world, and I don't think I've seen anything like that before.
I've seen stuff like that before.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Just me.
Yeah. So they were cool, but yeah. Anyway.
So 2 enthusiastic thumbs up for this trip.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I learned a lot. Definitely worth the time. And I mean, Boston's a beautiful city. Met a lot of good people. Well, actually, that's the other thing. Like, we have a lot of people that hopefully will also come on the podcast that we met there.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
Great networking opportunity. So yeah, hopefully some of the people that we had interactions with, you'll actually hear some of their stories and backgrounds and all of that in future episodes as well.
And listen,
because I mean, there's just the amount of diversity, the different people that we met out there, like from this background, from that background.
Oh, it was great.
From this era, like older people, younger people. Yeah, it was incredible to meet everybody.
And then before I get into the lobster rolls, I really think that that's just so important. Like, as any type of practitioner, associating with other colleagues in the same industry as you makes you that much better. I think sometimes we put on the blinders and put our heads down and just work. But taking a minute or 2 or 3 to pause and collaborate with other professionals makes you that much better of a practitioner moving forward in your career. So I always find it refreshing to see what other people are doing, what things are happening on the East Coast, the West Coast, overseas. It just really helps keep you grounded in terms of not getting pigeonholed or whatever that terminology would be, to where you're just not thinking about the rest of
pigeonholed.
Yeah, where you're not thinking about what's going on everywhere, right? I think that's so important to keep things fresh.
Yeah, I would agree. So hot or cold? That's the question, right? Which I didn't know was a thing.
And when she asked us, I'm like,
whatever you
like, I want it hot, unless we're not supposed to be having it. She's like, no, we eat it cold here. The lobster rolls.
You know, I had one before in Boston, so I recommended the place where we got the lobster roll and the clam chowder and everything. And the
clam chowder.
Yeah, when I recommended it, I actually, before I got it hot, and I didn't know. I asked for it. I was like, yeah, a sandwich. You typically have like a sandwich or panini, like it's hot. Like,
I thought it was great, and it was actually not cold. It was like just room temperature.
Yeah, but it's when you say cold, it's not like a cold cut.
No. It was
salami
it was
or
like
something.
warm. It was like a little slightly warm.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you get one, it's got to be cold. I would agree. Like, I've had both. Cold is much better.
It was really good. The food experience that we had was fantastic.
Yeah, San Diego is going to be a blast. Can't wait.
I love your enthusiasm. It's a year away, Paul. Relax.
Well, hey, but I mean, Boston went by. Boston was here like that. So it's going to be the same thing with San Diego.
Yeah. And we'll have hopefully good commentary for that as well.
Cool. Well, that's it. Until next time, right?
Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Look for the future guests that we mentioned coming up. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.